Hello, once again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our virtual classroom. Today, we're going to continue talking about ratios, but specifically a specific type of ratio known as a unit rate. And if you're wondering, what is a rate? What is a rate? Well, ladies and gentlemen, a rate is simply a ratio where the units are different. Okay, think of things like miles per hour. Miles is a distance, a unit of distance, and hours a unit of time. That's miles per hour. When people get paid, they get paid dollars per hour. Again, money and time. You can think of, let's say that you're throwing a pizza party. You want to buy enough pizza. So you're wondering, well, how many slices per person? Again, we have slices of pizza and person, completely different units. But regardless, ladies and gentlemen, we're still dealing with ratios. We're still dealing with equivalent ratios. We're dealing with fractions that have the same pattern, the same relationship, fractions that are equivalent to one another. So that's what we're talking about here today. We're talking about rates. What is the pattern that we're following? Oftentimes we know that we're dealing with a rate with a certain pattern of two things affecting one another because of the way that it's worded. And oftentimes they use the word per. And the word per, ladies and gentlemen, in itself really means for every one. For every one. One of what? Well, miles per hour is per 1 hour. Cost per apple would be the cost per 1 apple. If you see, I don't know, again, going back to the pizza analogy, slices per person, it would be slices for one person. So the word per implies the number one, which really leads us to what is known as a unit rate. A unit rate. So notice that we still have the word rate right here. So we're still talking about a ratio between two different units. But the word unit itself also implies one unit. In fact, the prefix un or uno or uni, that also means one. So a unit rate, ladies and gentlemen, is the rate per one unit, per one of something. What do I mean by that? Well, consider this rate down here. We see that it says 40 miles per 2 hours or 40 miles every 2 hours. So let's say that you're driving or you're being driven and you see that your whoever's driving is driving quite slow, and you ask them, well, how fast are we going? And they say, oh, we're going 40 miles every 2 hours. That's really odd. Nobody really talks like that. No, we want to know the rate of speed will be miles for each hour. We want to know the miles per hour. And so notice that right here, we have the same rate, but written as a unit rate. In fact, we know that if it's 40 miles for every 2 hours, we are indeed comparing miles, which is a unit of distance, and hours, which is a unit of time. So we have 40 miles every 2 hours, but if we want to know the miles per hour or miles for each hour, the word per can also be translated as each. So again, it's 1 hour. We have to ask ourselves, what do we have to do? Well, like anything, ladies and gentlemen, any number divided by itself will give you 1. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. And if I want to have the same ratio, the same relationship, I need to divide the numerator by 2 as well. 40 divided by 2, ladies and gentlemen, will give me 20. So 40 miles every 2 hours is the same thing as 20 miles per hour. 20 miles per hour. It's the same rate, but it's written as a unit rate, the rate for 1 hour. Here's another example, ladies and gentlemen. Let's suppose that we go to Dunkin' Donuts or we go to Krispy Kreme's and you want to buy a dozen donuts. By the way, a dozen, as we see here, dozen means 12. And so you find that they're charging you $24 for each dozen. So that's like to say $24 for 12 donuts. Well, what are we comparing here? Well, obviously we're comparing the cost in dollars specifically, the cost in dollars to the donuts. Notice that before I write down any number, ladies and gentlemen, I need to understand what am I comparing here? What am I comparing here? So here we're comparing the cost for the donuts. So the cost is $24. And the donuts, well, we have 12 donuts. Notice that is $24 for 12 donuts. But ladies and gentlemen, if I want to know the unit rate, or rather I want to know the cost per donut, per one donut, for each donut, I want to know the cost for one donut. So how, ladies and gentlemen, how can I go from 12 to 1? How can I go from 12 donuts to one donut? How much does each donut cost me? Well, let's divide 12 by itself. Any number divided by itself will give you 1. And you're going to see that pattern a lot in this lesson, that we're always dividing a number by itself to get to the 1. So 12 divided by 12 is 1. So 24 divided by 12 is going to give me 2. So that means that each one donut will cost me $2. So it's $2 per donut, or as we see up here, $2 per donut. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, what you just saw here is a specific type of unit rate known as the unit price. Unit price. In fact, if you go to the store, to the grocery store, and you look at the price tag next to anything, whether it be cereal, or you go to the deli section, the meat section, and you see the price for the meat, or you go to the produce and you see the price for fruits and vegetables, if you look at the price, you're going to see on the sticker, it's going to say something like unit cost, or cost per pound, or cost per ounce, or cost per fluid ounce, or cost per container. And always, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see, if you see it as a fraction, it's always going to be the cost or the price over the item, for one of the item. Like if you're only buying one. Now, I understand that you don't always buy one, but you do want to know what is the rate, how much you are, hypothetically speaking, for each one of those ounces or items. That's how you can compare prices. Let's say you have two different brands, and as far as you know, they're pretty much the same thing, but you want to get the best deal. You want to pay the least for the same item. So you want to look at the price per item. That is the unit price. All right, so this is a rate. This is a ratio, and it's always going to be the price on the numerator, or the cost, over the item in the denominator. And that item could be pounds, could be ounces, could be containers. And yes, we are going to be trying to find the unit rate, the cost per one item. The example we just did here with the donuts is a unit rate. We have $24 per dozen donuts, for 12 donuts. Well, the price goes on the numerator, price, and we want to know the price for each one item, the item being the donut. The price is $24 for the item, which is 12 donuts. And I want to know the cost for one of those items. I want to know the cost for one donut. So how do I get from that 12 to the 1? Well, divide 12 by 12. 12 divided by 12 is 1. So let's have the same rate. Let's divide the numerator by 12 as well. And 24 divided by 12 will give me 2. So it's $2. That's the price per one donut. $2 per donut. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, today's lesson is as easy as, number 1, identifying what you're comparing. Number 2, identifying what they're asking. In this case, we want to know the cost for 1, the unit rate, and setting it up in such a way that I can divide to get to that 1, and divide the other, in this case, the price, by that same amount. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you found this video helpful, and I do intend to add a video with more examples, but for now, I will see you next time.